Hello. Welcome to the Universal Mind Channel. This is part 8 of our investigation of reincarnation, the scientific theory, or as we call it, Phi Alpha, because today, in this modern time, it's time for this process to be given serious scientific investigation, and therefore it should be given a serious scientific name. So let's get away from the mumbo jumbo of reincarnation. Even Asian philosophies think it's silly to call rebirth reincarnation. You can only be incarnated once. Can't do it again and again. You are what you are created. All we're talking about is transferring your individuality from your dying body to a living one. Okay? So reincarnation is a misnomer. Let's call it let's give it a scientific name. Let's call it Phi Alpha. This theory of Phi Alpha is based upon modern scientific research, and we cite the research that we rely upon. We cite it in the book, Reincarnation, the Scientific Theory, and we also cite it in the description following each of these episodes. So today we're going to take a look at memory prioritization. Let's begin. What memories make you who you are today? If you were to die today, what memories would you take with you as you transfer your identity from a dying body to a body yet to be born? What memories would you take with you? Well, the analogy that comes to me in this process is the Titanic trying to save who to save and who to leave behind. The dying body is not a sinking ship, of course, but the problem is the same. Which memories does the body save as Phi Alpha, and which does it leave behind? And how are these choices made? The dying individual, Phi Alpha, uses the brain's limbic system as a filter to choose which memories are most necessary for preservation of the person's individuality at death. The hippocampus and the amygdala's emotional control center would most likely perform much of this task. They're both centrally located in the center of the brain, which would be among the last of the brain's components to deteriorate from oxygen loss following cardiac arrest or from whatever physical trauma the body suffered at the time of death. What memories does Phi Alpha choose to save? This question forces us to examine how our individual personalities are constructed. Think about this. When you look in the mirror and you see your reflection, your emotional state is affected every time you remember this reflection. You're either happy with what you see or you're unhappy. This emotional response is registered in the amygdala. This is an example of ultra short-term or sensory memory. It fades away in time because its impact upon the neuron carrying it is very slight compared to all the other memories that are contained in our cortex. Imagine the 5 senses from which we receive millions of bits of sensory data every second. Sensory or ultra short-term memory can include everything we're seeing, the feeling of clothing, jewelry we wear, how warm or cold we feel, the scent of odors in the air. Working memories don't last because they don't possess any emotional weight for neurons to latch onto. They're the flotsam of our day-to-day lives, driving to work, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what we do at work, if it's routine. There's no emotional attachment to any of these activities. Unless, of course, we get in an accident on the way home, and then, of course, there's an emotional hook upon which the memory preserves that event as a neural, emotional memory. The routine duties of the day merge into one another. Each day has its own rhythm, yet each day is so similar to every other that we take for granted most of what we do or observe. That's working memory. Both ultra short-term and working memories would immediately be rejected for phi alpha, as the purpose of phi alpha is to preserve only those memories that support individuality. Present sense impressions and day-to-day working memories are too immediate to carry much, if any, synaptic weight. Further, one of the means by which the hippocampus and amygdala prioritize memories is the strength and size of their neural synaptic cells, which vary in strength and size depending upon how often they're used. Long-term memories would logically be stored in neural synaptic cells stronger and larger than recently created memories, simply because they've existed over a longer period of time and their synapses have been used considerably more often. This evaluation would require only a simple computational exercise by the limbic system to perform. All that would be necessary would be for the limbic system to compare the strength and size of synapses of each long-term memory it receives. Upon cardiac arrest, ions containing long-term memories would be released into the neural net by the cerebral spinal fluid wash that we talked about in prior episode. These ion-held memories would then be transferred to the amygdala for emotional prioritization by simple size comparison. A much more difficult task for the limbic system to perform would be to differentiate between long-term memories that are equal or near equal in size. So how does phi alpha select which long-term memories to save? The strongest long-term memories are those memories we still recall, even without trying. They bubble up out of our subconscious like phantoms, images of long ago events, watching over our minds like a motion picture we cannot turn off or walk away from. They seem to have a will of their own, dominating our attention and our concentration, regardless of what we're doing at the moment. They keep us up at night, or they wake us up from even a sound sleep. Evolution created phi alpha for the specific task of conserving information to comply with physical laws fundamental to the existence of the universe. Who each of us is as an individual is not something we can consciously identify or even observe. We're the object behind the face falling away from the canyon ledge into the mist far below, not the observer watching us fall. Our conscious minds are held prisoner to the immediacy of our second-to-second sensory experience and the necessities of our day-to-day lives. Long-term memory creation is a program running far into our subconscious, if not further. If there is such a thing as a mystical component to phi alpha, it's at the point of long-term memory creation and prioritization, where these two seemingly contradictory concepts meet. Our emotions do matter in the creation of stronger, longer living memories. Recent research supports this theory. It has been found that the brain's amygdala controls how the human brain preserves our emotional memories. The amygdala does this by encoding upon our memories the emotions we feel as we live through our life experiences. Emotion has both transient and long-term effects upon memory. Emotionally charged memories, including stimuli formed by pictures, words, or faces, are more easily recalled over time than for emotionally neutral memories. This research proves the emotional loading of our memories is controlled by the amygdala, and it corroborates a critical physiological step necessary for phi alpha's operation. Excuse me just a second. Excuse me, thank you. Back in 2003, a team of researchers studying the effect of negative emotions and long-term memory suggests negative emotions are the strongest and longest lasting of all memories, therefore the easiest to recall. Further, long-term memories are given preferential treatment for recall over short-term memories. And I cite this research in the description following this video. We can hypothesize that since negative memories are strongest, the synapses containing negative long-term memories have a stronger ion signature and are physiologically larger than other long-term memories. This preference for negative emotions and long-term memories is likely to be an evolutionary construct for survivability. It's possible that evolution boosts the ionic signature or negative or life-threatening memories in the synapse as a means of simple self-preservation. Gradual loss of brain oxygen at death limits the time for phi alpha to operate. All the processes necessary to download, prioritize, encode, and transmit memories must be completed before the limbic system exhausts its oxygen supply. Due to this time limitation, this process must be simpler than it might appear. It will be instantaneous. It will be at the speed of light. Photons are light. As the amygdala in the brain, as the amygdala is the one brain organ capable of encoding emotion upon memory, it would be logical for it to possess the emotional matrix of the individual's personality, a blueprint, as it were, of the person's identity over time. Because your personality matrix is a constantly revamped algorithm. It's constantly being edited second by second as you have more experiences and new memories to be added to the mix of who you are, especially if those memories are emotionally encoded, if there are strong emotions attached to the event. If this is correct, all the amygdala would need to do to prioritize the ions from long-term memories is to run them over its own emotional matrix, holding onto those memories that match, disregarding those that don't. These remaining prioritized ion-held memories carrying the person's individuality encoded memories would then be transferred to another area of the limbic system for biophoton encoding. And we'll discuss that in our next episode of Reincarnation, the Scientific Theory. This is the Universal Mind Channel. If you have a question, you might want to contact us at the Universal Mind Channel at gmail.com. That's the Universal Mind Channel at gmail.com. Have a good day.